Today, we're going to be taking a look at organizing your argumentative essay. We're going to write the introduction and make sure it includes a hook and your claim. Our learning objectives for today state I will be able to write an argumentative essay. And our essential question says, how do I write an argumentative essay? First things first, let's review. Before even beginning to write, you need to choose a side. You need to think of 3 ways to support that side, and you need to make sure you have some evidence. Once you've got that out of the way, you're ready to write. First, let's look at the essay structure. An essay is usually going to have at least 5 paragraphs with 5 different parts. You're going to have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and your conclusion. Today, we're going to be 100% focused on the introduction, the part in green. This is your first paragraph of your essay, and it's probably the most important. In it, you have to get your audience's attention through your hook, and you have to tell them what side you're on. Going a little bit deeper, the introduction starts with a hook. This is sometimes called a lead, and if you've not studied this before, a hook is something that is going to get your reader involved in your writing. Second, you're going to introduce the issue. You're going to make sure that your reader knows what you're talking about. And third, you're going to make your claim, or tell which side you are on. It's important to know another piece of vocabulary here. Your claim is sometimes going to be referred to as your thesis statement. Basically, the thesis statement is the main point of your essay. This is the side you chose, and you're telling why you support that side. Remember that it's sometimes called a thesis statement. Now, in earlier videos and in my class, we've looked at the debate on trampolines. If you're unaware of this issue, there are 2 sides to it. One believes that trampolines are great exercise, they're fun, they're awesome. The other side believes that they are dangerous, that they cause too many injuries, and they'd like to ban trampolines. We're going to go from the side wanting to ban trampolines, and this is just an exercise. It's not necessarily what side I take. Now keep in mind, you can do that too. In an argumentative essay, you can choose whatever side you want to write for. It doesn't necessarily have to be what you believe, although usually it's going to be a whole lot easier to write for the side you agree with. First, let's look at hooks. There's a lot of different ways you can write hooks. One of the easiest ways to do it is with questions. This question simply says, have you ever been hurt on a trampoline before? I usually ask this question to my students, and this year, for example, pretty much half the class raised their hand and said that they'd been hurt before. A question makes your audience think and thus hooks them into the essay. A hook can also be an interesting statistic or fact. For example, from 2002 to 2011, trampoline injuries contributed to more than 1 million emergency department visits in the United States. That's a whole lot of injuries. A statistic like that makes people think. 1 million visits in basically a decade. Quotes also work. When you have someone who is an authority on the issue, it makes it look like you know what you're talking about because you're referencing them. This doctor says that families need to know that many injuries occur on the mat itself, and current data do not appear to demonstrate that netting or padding significantly decrease the risk of injury. One of the big arguments that the other side will have will be, hey, we can just put nets around it. This doctor says that doesn't really matter. One of my favorites, but one of the more difficult ones to execute appropriately, is to use a shocking statement. The one that I picked is a little over the top, but it says hundreds of children every year go from bouncing happily one moment to raw agony and splintered bones the next. Trampolines are not worth it. When you make a shocking statement like that, it gives your audience pause. It makes them consider your side, at least for a moment. Finally, we have anecdotes, or sort of stories within your essay. Sometimes you could use personal examples and say something like, I loved my trampoline a lot until the summer my leg went through the side and I spent the remaining months in a cast. Using personal examples or examples from friends or relatives or things like that can also work too. There are other types of hooks, and you could probably write a better hook than some of these that we've looked at. The main thing to remember is that you must get your audience's attention. If they can't make it through your first paragraph without falling asleep, they're probably not going to take away much from your essay. Remember, the next step is to introduce your issue. Now, in this case, everybody knows what a trampoline is, but some of the things that you may talk about for an argumentative essay may be things that your audience isn't even familiar with. They don't know why it's an issue. You need to make some kind of statement sort of between your hook and your claim that lets the audience know what this is about. Quick one I wrote here, it says, you may or may not have been injured on a trampoline, but significant debate exists today on whether or not they should be banned, with doctors, parents, and kids who have experienced injury asking for the sale of trampolines to stop. That's a little long and wordy, but it does get the point across. It lets the audience know that there is a debate between two sides, one wanting to keep trampolines and one wanting to ban them. Lastly, and most importantly, you cannot leave this out. You need to make your claim, or tell what side of the argument you were on. My claim says trampolines are extremely dangerous. The benefits do not outweigh the possible dangers, and sale of them should be banned for several reasons. That's it. It's short and sweet, and it gets the point across. It tells your audience what side you're on. Now let's put it all together so that you get an idea of what an introduction could look like as a whole. My introduction says, from 2002 to 2011, trampoline injuries contributed more than 1 million emergency department visits in the United States. You may or may not have been injured on a trampoline, but significant debate exists today on whether or not they should be banned, with doctors, parents, and kids who have experienced injury asking for the sale of trampolines to stop. Trampolines are extremely dangerous. The benefits do not outweigh the possible dangers, and sale of them should be banned for several reasons. One final note on this, when you make your claim, make sure that you come out and say it. Do not waffle kind of between one side or the other. In mine, I say the benefits do not outweigh the possible dangers. They should be banned. Make sure that you are firmly clear on what side you take. And that does it. We wrote our introduction, and it didn't even take too long. For our wrap-up today, make sure that you know that the intro paragraph must hook your audience, it must introduce the issue, and it must make a claim. If you have any follow-up practice activities to do, you can get started now. Thanks for watching.